There's few themes that are more appealing than the wonders of the world.
Today we're looking at 10 board games that give you a sense of wanderlust.
Hi, I'm Libby, this is Julian, and together we are BoxedMeeples. And today, yes, we are covering our top 10 games that give us that feeling of traveling and joy and backpacking and excitement to see new places of the world that we've not yet been to.
Now, these are not travel games. These aren't games you can take with you when you are out traveling. They are just games that explore the theme of traveling, that celebrate the great unknown, the exploring the world and just seeing what there is to offer.
So first from me, I opened up with the idea of world wonders, and the game is World Wonders. And in this one, this is sort of a polyomino tile placing game. If you've played games like My City, things like that before, Barron Park, you've got those similar sort of mechanisms. You're going to have rules in which you can put certain buildings next to each other. All the buildings have to be next to a path. And then you have these wonderful world wonders, and they look gorgeous, absolutely incredible. Some of them are multi-pieces, like the pyramids, the Great Wall of China, and you're placing them over on your map, obviously trying to score as much as you possibly can. And each of those wonders will have a different requirement. They'll need to be maybe crossing over the water. Maybe they'll need to be next to a certain type of building. And then they actually make it more difficult for you to put out more things against once you've got these wonderful wonders, because they have to be placed next to the roads, and then these wouldn't have your road next to them. So that sort of play between what you're placing where and how, and also how you're spending your money in this game is really, really interesting. So you basically have a set amount of money every round that you can spend on different things. Obviously the roads are quite cheap. Some of the buildings increase in power depending on how big they are, what kind they are, etc. But the wonders cost whatever you've got left whenever you buy them. So they could cost the full 7 coin of that round.
If you go straight in early doors.
If you go straight in and you want that one, and you know lots of people around the table are potentially competing to have that one, and you know it looks so pretty, so you need it. Or, I mean, particularly in a 2-player game, you have slightly less of that angst, and you kind of think, well, I know that he's not going to be eligible for that one, so I can just hold fire. And you might be able to get a world wonder for 1 coin if you can manage it.
If you can hold your nerve long enough.
Yeah, so you have really got that tension between what do you buy when and what's really going to suit your city, and what beautiful buildings you're going to get in there. And they do make you want to go and visit all of those temples and pyramids in real life.
It's one of those games where you look down at the end of it and you go, oh, I've built that little city, and you get your phone out and take a little picture.
Exactly.
I've gone for a game that we've championed for quite a long time, Route East. Now, this is based on the game designer's journey as they travelled from Istanbul to Shanghai. Now, this wasn't a normal, expensive go-by-plane journey. This was very much backpacking and just seeing what happened as they went on their journey. And in fact, if you look at the box, you can even see the car in which they travelled on this journey.
Judith.
And in this game, you are recreating that journey as you try to travel around the board, the amazing circular board, taking whichever route you can find to visit certain destinations that you have kind of secretly to have to visit. And on your journey, all sorts of chaos can go wrong because you're drawing different cards that are going to affect you in interesting ways. And you're going to continuously have to go across different borders, and even getting across borders can prove tricky.
You had to bribe them with cookies one
Nothing
time.
better than bribing guards with cookies. And as you go around the board, you have the opportunity to kind of help out your fellow travellers, hoping that, you know, in the future, maybe they'll help you when you need to, because both money and fuel are tight in this game, and you've got to be really economical with how you're traveling around, which routes you're going to take, which roads you're going to go on, and how much you're going to push your luck. Say you can cut across the middle of the board by taking a ferry, but that's going to a certain amount of perfect dice rolling for that to be successful. Otherwise, you're just going to waste a lot of time on a boat that's not really traveling that far. It's a game that looks lovely on the table, and each of the destination cards you go to have got little interesting facts about them, which really does immerse you in that place, in that location, and in that kind of sense of adventure. And really, as you are playing, what we found this really does inspire is just the conversations that you have about traveling experiences. You know, the maybe you've been to this location, or maybe you've been on a journey where your car completely broke, your wing mirror came off, or perhaps you just got so drunk you weren't able to continue your journey.
Yeah, it really is those conversations that were great. And I love that it was going across areas that aren't the normal backpacking routes, the Southeast Asia. You're going across a slightly unbeaten track there, finding some new lovely places to go to. Next up from me is a game, Expeditions, and at the moment it's published by Hachette. It's a reimagination. It's been published before, so it is an older game. And in this one, you're collectively laying out routes with these 3 different arrows. There's 3 routes across this world map, and you're trying to get to the places that you need to get to in your cards. And some of those, everyone around the table knows that you're trying to get to. So you can sort of look and see who's maybe going to a similar direction as you, who potentially might be trying to push the route in another direction that you definitely don't want it to go into. And then you have a lot of other secret destinations that your opponents don't know in your hand. So in a 2-player game, we have 12 destinations and 4 are known and the remainder are unseen. And the game finishes once you've been to everywhere you need to go to, by moving these arrows across and creating these routes across the board. And what's interesting is when you go to certain places, it doesn't have to be on your turn that you arrive at this destination and you score it. So you can potentially entice another player to go somewhere that you need to go without them really realizing that you need to go there. But also there are spots that will maybe give you a ticket, which you can exchange for different things, allow you to do special moves. And also there are other spots which allow you to lay another arrow, and that doesn't necessarily have to be on that same route. You can extend one of the other routes going out in different directions and try and cover the globe the best you can. And there's also joint group destinations that everyone's trying to go to. So you're trying to see how someone might be trying to nab one of those joint ones. Well, it's also potentially, are they making their way there because they need to go there anyway, or just to take that card that we can all see? Yeah, another really lovely, the artwork on the board for this one is beautiful, and it really does highlight all of those sites that you can see when you go to these different countries. So on the board you've got gorgeous temples, you've got wonderful mountains and things like that you can see. Waterfalls are on there as well, and even the oceans are celebrated as well.
I do love the fact that once you loop up and you're allowed to then spear off in a different direction, allows you to really double back quite easily. And that really is, you know, when the control comes in, how you're going to incorporate that into a route you need to go to without necessarily giving away what you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's great when you manage to really sync up a turn, use your tickets for an extra turn, and then you've managed to get to a destination that lets you lay another arrow, then you use another ticket and that's given you a different thing. And then all of a sudden you've managed to lay down 3 of your cards in one turn, one epic turn. And when that comes together, it's really glorious.
One of my favourite travel memories is when we were travelling through Death Valley. We got out of our rented car, opened the door, and were hit with an unbelievable wave of heat. So for me, the journey through Death Valley is fantastically immortalised in a card game, a button shy game with just 18 cards. Now in this game, you are basically building up a journey. You've got to really push your luck to collect different amounts of cards, each one hoping to score the largest amounts of points you can. If you're getting a bit nervous, you can move some of your cards then to your scrapbook, where you start documenting your journey through the Death Valley. Meanwhile, your opponent's doing the same thing, trying to not get 3 matching symbols while getting as many victory stars as possible. And each of the cards you put in your scrapbook has a different kind of scoring condition that's going to help towards your end game scoring. But what I really love about this is just the art of it and the kind of sense of occasion it has. You find interesting facts about Death Valley and each of the kind of landmarks you get in this, with that kind of sense of danger that's really inherent in this place that can just melt your face if you spend too long just looking towards it. The cards themselves look beautiful, and I really do find it a sense of kind of adventure as you go through this barren wasteland.
Yeah, I mean, I find it quite funny that they call it Death Valley in that area, because I think once we'd been out of the car for more than 5 minutes, we thought we were going to die by getting back into a non-air conditioned car. Whilst we're talking America, I don't think you can have a list like this without talking about the gorgeous games that are parks and trails. I mean, I put them sort of together because they've got that same trekking around the national parks theme about them. You really feel like you're going on a journey there, but I will focus on parks. But if you want a smaller box game kind of mini version, then Trails is a good version. But in parks, you're basically going along your little trail, trying to get the different resources that you might want during your day, and it's that ratchet system, so you can only go so far forward. Each player has got a campfire that will allow them to take the same place as another player, but you can only use that once per round or until your worker gets to the end. So you might be able to work it to be able to use it again. So you have your 2 trekkers, and they're going across this little journey for each day that you're taking. So you have got that kind of, shall I send both trekkers out sort of same-ish sort of time going across? Shall I try and hold one back, knowing that I might be able to have more options in terms of what I can gather? But then what happens if you end up being the last trekker, you can't just then go to every spot along the way. Once the penultimate trekker's got to the end of the trail, you have to zip all the way to the end as well. So it's a nice decision in terms of how you use those 2 workers in that journey. And essentially you are collecting resources to be able to go and visit these gorgeous cards that are these national parks. And you might be collecting some gear along the way that will give you special actions. You might be putting some water into your canteen, which will give you a different type of resource, or get those wild animals, which look absolutely gorgeous. This game is such a great production with those little game trays and all the lovely tokens that they have on there. And you're even maybe getting points for being able to take photographs along the way. So if you already have the camera, then you can take another photo for just 1 resource, or if you can gain the camera, then you can take a photo with 2 resources. So you kind of want to keep hold of it, so it makes it that little bit cheaper, and they're giving you points at the end of the game as well. But I mean, the key thing about this is how many gorgeous national parks they are and how wonderful all those cards look for them. And it does really give some nice variety throughout the game. And you do several rounds of these trekking through, getting lots of different parks, and the trail changes slightly each round as you mix it all up and add another card in. And it's just quite a nice entry-level game. Yeah. Incredibly gorgeous, makes me want to go hiking every single time.
Considering how celebrated Ticket to Ride is, I always find it strange that another game by the same designer isn't as celebrated. Race Around Europe is admittedly a very simple kind of entry game, but it's a really fun and accessible one. In it, you are basically aligning 10 cars to do a journey around Europe. You start off with the 10 cards, you can place them in any order you'd like, and then eventually you can swap these cards out for other cards to ultimately create one long journey. Now, on your journey around Europe, you can start taking boats, you can start taking planes, as long as you meet the individual criteria that a place in those means. So you can't fly from one city to another unless they are matching colours. But I find this is really great for kind of younger players or for people who aren't used to playing these kind of games.
Definitely.
And it has a kind of educational slant as well. You're beginning to learn where each of the places are in Europe, where they align next to, and yeah, getting a sense of almost geography about it. And at the end of it, what you do tend to do is go, well, I've been on the journey around Europe and I started off in France. Then I went through to Germany and onto Italy where I caught a boat. And I find it's great to just see the kind of the cogs ticking in people as they understand, oh, okay, this is how the countries map out. And I think that really does inspire a sense of adventure in people. Yeah,
and this is definitely, of all of the ones on the list, our most young kids, non-gamer friendly game that's very easy to table and doesn't have any tricky rules at all.
No, you can learn it in minutes, and but it's still a great entryway, and it's one that does not get talked about nearly enough.
Next up from me is Let's Go to Japan. Now, this game is all about planning that trip and getting your kind of itinerary all set up. So you're planning a week in Japan over Kyoto and Tokyo. Some of the cards can go to both cities and you're taking trains between them, but it's all about planning a trip. I think the designers were hoping to go there and then weren't able to travel, and then they ended up being inspired to create this
turning
game
their plan into
an
actual game.
And people have said, I've heard it said on the internet, so it must be true, that you can actually plan your trip to Japan using this game. I mean, that sounds fantastic, right? But yeah, you're gathering up these different cards. They've all got different criteria and action points that allow you to score in different ways once you get to the end, and you're putting them into the different days of the different itineraries and having a glorious time in Japan.
I think what's great about these cards is they all kind of individually tick every box for everyone who's ever wanted to go to Japan and all the things they want to do. You know, not only have you got fantastic locations you're going to be go to, but even, you know, like go and see some sumo wrestling. Yeah. Getting to eat delicious food, and obviously seeing the sites that make Tokyo and Kyoto so very famous.
And there's lots of criteria that you'll be looking to do in order to be able to score along the way. So there'll be some that say, if you visited 3 temples, then you get to score 6 points. And if you've managed to do this, then you can do that. So you're really trying to align the things together all on the correct days. And that sounds really fun planning to me.
Talking about Japan, what about taking a journey through Japan in a more sedate manner? In Tokaido, all you are doing is going for a stroll. So it's a ratchet system where you can just go forward, but you can never go backwards. But on your journey through feudal Japan, you're getting to bath with some monkeys. You're getting to go shopping, you get to see temples, and it's probably one of the most relaxing games you can ever play that is about taking a journey.
Unless someone's taken all the money.
Unless someone has taken all the money and you cannot get to the food you need to at the end of each section. But I just love the art of it all. It just has this sense of kind of tranquility about it, where you're not in any particular rush. You're going to stop off, you can do a bit of painting. Hopefully you're going to be the first to finish some painting, or maybe you'll meet a traveller and he'll help you out on your journey. It really does give you a kind of sense of progression through this kind of beautiful landscape. I think it's such a lovely production, so effortlessly easy to play. I also feel just very relaxed playing Tokaido.
Yeah, I really love completing those paintings, you know, Mount Fuji and the seascape, the bigger paintings, and just see how they sort of add on each time. I love the way they all kind of panorama together. Yeah. Right, last up from me is the Boomerang series. Now, there are 3 currently, Boomerangs, so that you can go to Australia. Obviously, it's Boomerang. There's a USA one and there's a Europe one. And this is card play, and the card arts are going to all those different locations. And you have, it's a draft and write rather than a roll and write situation. So you're using the cards to draft, you're taking one, you're handing them over, taking another, trying to work out the best route. Some of them will give you points for going across the whole of the area on your map first. You're trying to complete sections first in order to get the bonus points for them. But there's a lot more going on with those cards. The whole Boomerang concept, where you're looking at what your first card out value is and what your last card that you might get left with as to whether you can score that Boomerang score, is exciting. And you can see the cards coming a couple of turns before, especially when we're playing together. And it's kind of like, oh, if I take this one now, he's not going to be able to score that boomerang. I know it. I know it's a lower number. And you've also got different symbols that you'll be scoring as well. So say the America one, you've got food and drink, and you've got, I think there's hats in there, and there's loads of different symbols of things. And then you've also got wildlife that you might be pairing up as well, that you can try and get points for those. So depending on what round you're doing, you might be trying to score better on one thing or the other. Some things score throughout the game, every single round. Other things, once you've scored it once, that's it, you're done. So you kind of try and maximize which ones you're doing when, and hoping that the right cards come your way. But it's a really lovely game where you do feel like you're visiting these different places, and you're managing to cross them off and get your routes or fill up whole areas that you're looking to do to score those extra points.
It really is another game that's creating a checklist of places you're going to want to go in each of these different regions. We obviously could not have done this list without including Trek in the World. This game is just solely focused on traveling around the world. It's the ultimate kind of wanderlust game. In it, you have to go to 5 different locations, and to do that, you need to use your cards in hand. You always have to move on your turn, so you're always progressing around the world. But once you reach locations, you need to have in your hand the cards that meet a certain criteria. When you get there, different score points will be awarded, and the more you travel in a certain region, the more points you can get from that. So it really does feel like a race as you are traveling around, consciously trying to block off the other travellers from making progress in their route as you second guess where they are heading, while collecting souvenirs and maybe doing different kind of adventures, journey cards as you're going around, get distracted by other little things that are going on there. It has beautiful artwork on all of the cards, and I think that's what makes this game feel so special, as you're looking at the cards going, that's a place I need to go to. Now, the current version you can buy is perhaps a little bit more entry level, but there is a second edition on the horizon that's going to notch up the complexity, going to make it a slightly different game to play, but still maintaining that beautiful aesthetic and those beautiful art, and still giving you that sense of exploration, that sense of adventure as you explore the massive world right in front of you on the board.
Yeah, I really love it in this game when you manage to complete an area and pick up the map, and maybe you even manage to grab a souvenir token of scoring off of an opponent whilst you're doing that. That's always really fun.
So that has been 10 travel-based games that we absolutely love. And to be honest, there was probably 10 more we could have included in this list. There are so many we could have picked from, but which ones should we have included? Do let us know in the comments down below. And also tell us, what is your favourite Wanderlust game? What gives you a sense of kind of exploration, of excitement to go to a new place?
Yes, we'd love to hear from you. These sort of travel-y Wanderlust games are some of our favourite topics in board gaming, so we're more than happy to get as many suggestions as possible. Of course, if you've enjoyed watching this video, I'm Libby, this is Julian, together we're BoxedMeeples, and if you're not already subscribed to us, then we would really love it if you would do so and follow along with all of our videos that we post. We post at least 2 board game topic videos every single week.
And if you want to get any of these games, a good place to go is your friendly local game store. And for us in the southeast of England, that is Chaos Cards. But don't worry, if you're on the other side of the world exploring some sort of adventure in some sort of way that's going to make me envious and want to be a part of your adventure, because you can still go online and buy your board games from Chaos Cards. And if you're doing that, there's a code in the description that will give you some money off at the checkout.
There it is indeed.
But as always, happy travels, and thanks so much for watching.
Bye.